Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Of Mice and Men, Echo, out December 3rd on Sharp Tone Records. This album has 10 tracks, 39 minutes in length, and this is the band's 7th full-length studio album. They are an American metalcore band. A band that has a very interesting album on their hands. This album is made up of 3 separate EPs, all released in 2021. The first one was Timeless, the second one was Bloom, and the third, Ad Infinitum, comes out on the same day as this full-length record. At first glance, I thought this is going to be problematic. How are you going to merge 3 EPs together without hurting the overall playability and fluidity of the album? Well, I think they did a wonderful job. There's definitely nuances from EP to EP or from act to act. There's definitely some changes there, but the overall playability and fluidity of the album is definitely unimpacted. This album is super engaging from beginning to end. The songs merge well with one another, the EPs merge well with one another, and this allows the overall experience to be uninterrupted from beginning all the way to the end, allowing the creativity that exists within each EP and the strength that exists within each and every single song have a positive impact in the collective. As far as the soundscape goes, this album is very robust. I felt like they took the heaviness of the previous album, but they added a few new nuances and a few new elements to it. Understanding that you can also bring heaviness from other elements, either be the lyrical content or the atmosphere that you create. This makes the album more robust all around as far as the sound is concerned and in terms of what it has to offer. It makes the experience more mature and allows the record not to be just one-dimensional, needing just one element to really captivate the fans and keep them connected with the album through and through. This record feels a little bit bigger from that perspective. They expanded it a little bit, shows that they're bringing what they've learned from the past, but they definitely have a different path or a slightly different path ahead of them as they move towards the future. A better balance, a better defined record all around as far as sound is concerned. And 2 of the pillars of that sound is definitely the drums and the guitars. I absolutely love the drum sound on this record. It feels powerful, it feels thumping, it grounds the record, it becomes the heartbeat on each and every single song. It doesn't follow one single formula, but it always has a lot of oomph in it. It really fills in the gaps, it really creates a strong bass line, it really expands the footprint of this record. Is the heartbeat, sometimes beating faster, sometimes beating slower, depending on what's needed from song to song, but never changing that consistency that it has of giving that force to each and every single track. On the other hand, you have the guitars, perhaps a little bit more diverse, perhaps a little bit more dynamic than what you're getting from the drums. Pushing, driven, melodic, chunky, sometimes even melancholic, really giving you different facets, but always driving the experience with each and every single song, always allowing you to gravitate towards them, hold on to them, because sometimes the journey is going to be bumpy within these tracks, within each of the acts that this album holds. But really outstanding execution as far as the guitars are concerned. They become really the guiding light with the vocals of where you're going to go throughout this record and throughout each of the EPs that make the overall album. The vocals is that icing or that cherry on top of that cake that really complements everything and almost glues all the different elements together. I thought the vocals were phenomenal. Somebody better call the cops because Aaron absolutely killed it and he left dead bodies all over the place. That is the kind of vocal performance that you're going to get on this album. It's very dynamic, very captivating, understanding that you can create intensity, you can create heaviness, by also bringing a lot of melancholy into the forefront, but also allowing the songs and the lyrical content of the lyrics to become more noticeable and become the drivers of the experience, the drivers of the atmosphere. And I really felt, all in all, that's exactly what the vocals did on this record. Diversity of approaches, diversity of execution, aggression, intensity, melancholy, bringing all of these things to life, but allowing the nuances in the background to really push them and drive the experience all around. Phenomenal performance, song in and song out. All around, this album is phenomenal. It really is. I mean, if you put 3 great EPs together, you're obviously looking at having a phenomenal record. The only concern that I had, like I mentioned earlier, is how they were going to coexist with one another. The moment that I realized that was not going to be a problem, that they all had a place within this album, and they all brought a different face of the band into the light, into the forefront, I was able to really appreciate this record as a whole and take a little bit away from what the individual EPs had to offer. It became less about that and became more about the collective. Once you start going down that road, you really feel like there is a lot of strength, there is a lot of power with this album. So it's a phenomenal release, a release that's very interesting from the get-go in terms of what originated, in terms of how it was put together, and then when you have the final product in your hands, you have to be smiling, you have to be happy, and if you're a fan of the band, this album is a must-have. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Timeless. This is the opening track, a song that has a great intro. It builds up, and then it has tons of aggression, tons of heaviness, both musically and vocally. Once it gets into the chorus, this is in the verses, once it gets into the chorus, you see that change. It becomes more controlled, it becomes more melodic, both musically and vocally. So it's a song that's balanced in terms of what you're going to get in the verses, and it's balanced in terms of what you're going to get in the chorus, and the two are opposites of one another. This allows the song to feel like it has this stop and go movement. It allows the song to feel very dynamic all around, very explosive, and then closing it off with the same type of melancholy that it opened it up makes the track go full circle. Beautifully done. Next, you have Fighting Gravity, perhaps more of an introspective track all around. Not just in terms of what you're going to get vocally out of this song, but also what you're going to get musically. Definitely not one of the aggressive tracks on the album. Definitely not one of the songs that has a lot of aggression built in the sound and how the vocals come across. But it has more of that underneath the surface. It has more of that built in into the melancholy that it carries, into the atmosphere that it creates, and definitely in the lyrical content. A track that feels a little bit like waves in the ocean. There's no incredible peaks, there's no deep valleys, but it's a song that doesn't stay stagnant, that doesn't stay linear, that it always has ebbs and flows, that always has ups and downs, and it moves really well from beginning to end, allowing the overall track to feel super consistent from that perspective. Last but not least, Echo. The guitars on this song slay. They absolutely kill it from beginning all the way to the end. The drums pack the sound and give the guitars a little bit of an extra push, a little bit of an extra kick, making the overall soundscape feel very big, having a very robust, driving sound that becomes very impactful from the get-go. The harsh vocals break through those walls, break through that heaviness of sound, and really jumps into the forefront, allowing still the track to keep a little bit of a melancholic underlining to it. This is definitely a track that has two different layers. There's this dark layer underneath, and then there's this pure aggressive layer above it. The two exist simultaneously almost throughout the entire song, and that becomes the key factor for this track. How you can have a song that has two different emotions battling out or coexisting with one another and not have the song fall apart or feel disconnected. Really interesting track, a lot of layers to digest, a song that has a lot to offer, a song that's very heavy all around, even when it dives in a little bit deeper into those dark abysses that it holds. This is it, of Mice and Men, Echo, out December 3rd on Sharp Tone Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the EPs, on the songs. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.